Once upon a time, in a remote village nestled between ancient mountains and whispering forests, there lived a young man named Zephyr. Unlike others his age, who found joy in simple pleasures, Zephyr carried a burden invisible to the eye, but crushing to the soul. His mind was a tempest that never ceased, filled with the ghosts of yesterday's mistakes and the shadows of tomorrow's fears. Zephyr's restless thoughts followed him everywhere like hungry wolves. When he tried to eat, memories of harsh words he'd spoken years ago would steal his appetite. When he attempted to sleep, worries about his uncertain future would dance behind his eyelids. His mind was like a crowded marketplace where 1,000 voices shouted at once, leaving him exhausted and desperate for even a moment of silence. One evening, as Zephyr sat by his window, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson, an elderly traveler knocked on his door. The stranger spoke of a legendary sage who lived atop the Whispering Peak, a mountain so high it seemed to touch the stars themselves. This sage, known as the Master of Stillness, was said to possess an ancient secret that could calm even the most turbulent mind. Hope flickered in Zephyr's heart like a candle in the wind. He decided that very night to seek out this mysterious master, for he could no longer bear the weight of his restless thoughts. At dawn, he began his journey up the treacherous mountain path, driven by a desperation that gave strength to his weary legs. After 3 days of climbing through mist-shrouded forests and across rocky ledges, Zephyr finally reached a small temple carved into the living rock of the mountain. There, sitting in perfect stillness beside a crystal-clear pool, was an ancient man whose very presence seemed to radiate peace. His eyes held the depth of countless sunsets, and his weathered hands rested gently in his lap like fallen leaves. "Master," Zephyr said, falling to his knees, "my mind gives me no rest. I am drowning in an ocean of thoughts. Please, teach me how to empty my mind and find the peace that has abandoned me." The Master of Stillness opened his eyes and smiled with the warmth of morning sunlight. He rose without a word and disappeared into the temple, returning with a delicate glass filled to the very brim with water. The surface trembled when the slightest movement, threatening to spill over at any moment. "Young seeker," the master said, in a voice soft as wind through pine trees, "I want you to carry this glass down to the village below and return to me, but hear this carefully. You must not spill even a single drop. If you do, you must begin again." Zephyr stared at the impossible task before him. The path was steep and rocky, filled with obstacles that would challenge even an empty-handed traveler. But the fire of determination burned within him, and he accepted the glass with trembling hands. As soon as he began his descent, Zephyr understood the true nature of his challenge. Every step required absolute attention. When the mountain wind threatened to disturb the water, he had to shield the glass with his body. When loose stones rolled beneath his feet, he had to move with the precision of a dancer. When birds burst from the undergrowth in a flutter of wings, he had to remain perfectly still until they passed. Hours melted away like morning mist. The sun traced its arc across the sky, painting the world in ever-changing hues of light and shadow. Somewhere along the path, something miraculous began to happen. Zephyr's mind, usually a chaos of competing thoughts, became focused on a single point of attention. There was no room for regret about the past when he needed to navigate around a fallen log. There was no space for anxiety about the future when he had to carefully step over a stream. The glass of water had become his entire universe. Each breath was measured, each footstep deliberate, each moment fully lived. For the first time in years, the endless chatter in his head fell silent. He moved through the world like a meditation in motion, fully present in each passing second. When Zephyr finally returned to the temple, the stars had begun to appear in the darkening sky. His clothes were dusty from the journey, and his body ached with fatigue, but his eyes shone with something that had been absent for far too long. The water in the glass remained perfectly still, not a drop lost to the mountain wind or rocky path. The Master of Stillness received the glass with a knowing smile. "Tell me, dear Zephyr, what did you see during your journey?" Zephyr paused, realizing with wonder that his usual flood of observations and complaints was nowhere to be found. "I saw nothing but the water, Master. I heard nothing but my own careful footsteps. My entire world became this single glass, and the sacred task of protecting it. And, tell me, the master continued, his eyes twinkling like captured starlight, during those hours when your mind was completely focused on the present moment, did the ghosts of your past torment you? Did the fears of your future paralyze you? Like sunrise breaking through storm clouds, understanding dawned on Zephyr's face. No, master. There was no room for anything but this moment, this step, this breath. For the first time in my life, my mind was truly quiet. The master nodded slowly, his ancient wisdom flowing like water from a mountain spring. You have discovered the greatest secret of all, young seeker. Peace is not found by fighting your thoughts or running from your fears. Peace comes when you learn to anchor your awareness so completely in the present moment that there is no room for the mind's endless wandering. Just as you protected that fragile flame of water from every disturbance, you must learn to protect your attention from every distraction. When you eat, taste each bite fully. When you walk, feel each step completely. When you breathe, experience each breath as if it were your first. This is the practice of emptying your mind, not by forcing thoughts away, but by filling your awareness so completely with the present that nothing else can enter. Tears of gratitude flowed down Zephyr's face as the truth settled into his heart, like seeds finding fertile soil. The peace he had searched for in distant mountains and ancient wisdom had been waiting patiently within him all along, hidden beneath the noise of his restless mind. From that day forward, Zephyr carried the master's teaching like a sacred flame. Whenever his thoughts began their familiar dance of worry and regret, he would remember the glass of water and return his attention to whatever task lay before him. Gradually, moment by moment, day by day, he learned to live with the same focused awareness he had discovered on that mountain path. The village below noticed the change in him. Where once walked a young man bent under the weight of invisible burdens, now moved someone who seemed to carry light itself. His presence brought calm to others, and his peaceful energy spread like ripples on a still pond. Remember, dear friend, that your mind is like that glass of water, delicate and precious, but easily disturbed by every passing wind of thought or emotion. The secret is not to still the wind, but to protect your attention so carefully that even in the midst of life's storms, the peace within you remains undisturbed. When you learn to guard your awareness as carefully as Zephyr guarded that glass, you too will discover that the mind's true nature is not chaos, but perfect, luminous stillness.